was shaking the entire drive to the union, and when I got to the parking lot, it was like, just make sure the car isn't parked. I know you're excited, but you know, there's certain things you have to take precautions for. And even when I got to the doorway, it was like, I was like trying to fight back the tears, but they just kept coming and running down my face, and I was so happy, and I'm still so happy. I can't even believe that after all this time, somebody's taken notice. Somebody said, you know, these people have gone through enough.
It's like my heart started jumping up because I remember what it was like the first strike that I won when I was a kid. When my dad was a worker and I was his kid, I remember what it was like when we got a contract and how they celebrated, how jubilant they were.
We walked in the front door and the people all behind us and yelling at people, "Hey Joe, I'm back," or, you know, "Hey Bob, here I am," and going behind the bar and starting to work as a bartender. If you weren't living it, you would have thought it was a movie about the American labor movement and what it should be about.
Valió la pena que mi hija estuviera en ese picket line por tantos años. Fue cuando yo dije, caramba, sí se podía. Like a walk in a road. We know those people who's died. We know the problems that I've been having on the picket line. And there was the things that make me cry in that day because it's like a walk in the road back. I'm sorry. It's like a, walk in the road back.
Started at the Frontier back when it first opened up in 1967. It was the ideal place to work. I used to meet people on my days off in the streets, in the doctor's office, or at a bar, talk about the food that was at the Frontier, how good it was. It was great. I mean, it just was a great feeling.
I worked in the Frontier 5 years, and I loved my job, and I loved where I worked. And when they actually fired me, it really hurt, because I didn't do anything wrong. And they were just out to get me.
The hotel took away our health insurance, discontinued our pension contributions. They cut people's wages.
Well, first of all, there was a contract. Whenever you have a contract, you have a right to sue if someone breaks that contract. The Ilardi's, who owned the Frontier, did break that contract 63 different ways. And amongst them were the big things that we had been, first of all, negotiating for over 2 years inside the hotel.
What a contract, Margaret. Go back in now. They see who out here.
It took away our pride, I mean. We were union people, and we were used to working the union wages. She didn't even want our union reps to come in the hotel.
The company was very bad with the workers, taking away everything what the families will need. And I understand very well what the families need, because I got my family.
She just took away everything, so she didn't leave us any choice but to strike.
A lot of people looked at the Frontier strike and thought it was really an important strike, strategically. That had been an area where unionism was growing because of HERE's efforts. And they looked at this and saw it as a key. It could either push organizing forward in an area where we were growing, or it could retard it.
Vegas, you cannot move a hotel overseas like other companies can move overseas. You know what I'm saying? Like the GE and all those companies. And you're in a town where it's a union town.
Before the Frontier strike, in the years from the 84 strike to 91, I mean, there was a lot of improvements made in the union. We've come from the depths of almost dissolving away, melting away. Now we're one of the strongest in the country.
And we started getting the membership involved. And I think that was the biggest one secret to the success of this union right now, is getting the membership involved, letting them help make decisions, and actually vote and show us the course they want us to take.
The people from Missouri have a saying, show me. 165 and 226, let's show this all right.
The vote is 464 strike, 7 no.
Good evening. Picket signs are going up in front of the Frontier Hotel.
Labor leaders announced today that culinary workers, union bartenders, operating engineers, and Teamsters are walking out on Frontier owner Margaret Alardi at 6 o'clock in the morning.
She's told all the employees that if we walk out, she will permanently replace every single one of us. And the lawyers also said that. That's not right either. That's another issue that's going on.
So far, the only word from Alardi is in the form of a brief press release. If the union wants to make war in the state of Nevada, the Alardis will make them wish they never started the war.
Margaret Alardi's company was called Unbelievable Inc., supposedly because she couldn't believe she was on the Strip. She has always been the controlling factor in the companies. From what we've been able to determine, she's the last word. Her son, Tom, is the most public person of the company. He's the manager of the property. He's the one that comes out front. He's the one that acts as the spokesperson when there is a spokesperson.
Isn't it true, though, that when your family bought the hotel that you let a lot of your long-term people go that were non-union, your long-term management people?
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of.
If you don't know what's going on.
You got dealers and pit bosses that had 15, 20, 25 years here that you fired, Tom.
We knew that it was going to be a tough fight. She's a very secretive woman. We had heard stories about her firing people because they pointed her out in the casino. She did not want people to know who she was.
This woman was, this whole family, the 2 sons and the woman, they're from another planet. I haven't figured out which one, but God knows it isn't this one.
Arrested before?
No, I haven't.
So this is a big deal, isn't it?
You better believe it.
This is where I work. This is my job. I've been suspended indefinitely. Yes, I'm going to stand here, and I am prepared to go to jail.
Code 6, 105 North Avenue, 52.
Proposing to workers that they should go on strike against their employer is a very heavy responsibility, but it's also an opportunity that most people don't have. Because most people don't have an opportunity in their everyday life to undertake something that can change history in some small or some big way.
Going down in the dead man's town. The first kick I took was when I hit the ground. Like a dog, this must be too much. You spend half your life just to covering up. Born in the USA. Born in the USA, born in the USA, born in the USA.
Whether Alardi actually gives in to what the hundreds of workers out here today are asking for is what you might call a question without an answer at this point. But the people on these picket lines today already have an answer. They say either Alardi comes up with a decent contract or this picket line becomes a permanent fixture on the Strip.
A lot of
people checking out.
Yesterday when I was out on the line, these people kept coming out saying my bed's not made, there's no restaurants open, you know, there's trash all over the place. It's fabulous. Fabulous.
I remember distinctly, Joe Daugherty and I met before the strike, and we went through who was probably going to strike, and how many of those strikers had never even been members of the union, and also what our picket line would look in 6 months.
It was just like a party time. The first day was easy. It was the first, we don't know what's gonna happen later on.
The fact is that if we gave up on this, we might as well give up on this town and be a minimum wage town. Once management or corporations or the rich people that run this town know that they can get the workers to give up and walk away or back down, then it becomes open season.
We want to leave a legacy of a living, a real living, not just what these mega properties or someone in the properties might feel. These properties are getting so big that the worker is no longer even visible.
9 years ago, I was your average union member. I paid my dues, and I thought someone else will do it. You know, whatever needs to be done. Rallies, somebody else will be there. You know, go to the union meetings, nah, somebody else will go there. And then it hit me. No one is doing what I thought needed to be done.
Lots of attention, lots of media attention, lots of attention from politicians, community leaders, you name it, other unions on this strike.
The March Across the Desert was from Las Vegas to Los Angeles to try and get the Senate Bill 55 passed. The Work Fairness Bill, which would be that you couldn't permanently replace strikers. It was timely that the Frontier Strike had just started, and they decided, well, we'll let the Frontier Strikers try and bring a little bit of light on the subject. And you know, at the time they thought, well, we'll just walk across the desert. And no one really realized just how tough it is to walk 30 miles a day.
Any blisters?
No blisters at all.
No blisters, huh?
Feet are sore. I like to rest my heavy head tonight on a bed. The California stars, I like to clean out weary bones tonight on a bed. The California stars, I love to feel.
We stopped at this little bar, and when you're looking down the bar, everybody that was at the bar, and it was a packed bar, Mack truck hats and things like that, you know, Troy Belt hats, they were all looking at us. And the first one on our end of the bar said, "Are you those picketers?" We're all looking at each other like, should we say yes? Are they going to kill us? What are they going to do? So finally, you know, one of them said yes, and the whole bar erupted in applause. It turns out that they were cement finishers, and they were on strike, and they were waiting on us to get there.
We're proud to stand with you, and especially proud of your sacrifice. You're walking those 300 miles is quite a feat. And when all the rah-rah is gone, and when this rally is over, you go back to reality, to face the employer. And God be with you. You'll win. We shall win together. You'll win, and your victory will be our victory. Thank you.
I think the Frontier Strike, what it did was that it demonstrated that workers that take a stand, workers that refuse to be beaten, workers that have decided and drawn the line and said, this is it. We're going to stand here, and we're going to do everything possible to win, and we're not going to give up.
El amor y el dinero y el orgullo se vuelve nada.
These are average Americans. They represent the newest wave of immigrants to this country.
And we know, as children of immigrants, what immigrants have gone through in years gone by. But the issues today are a little different, and the languages may be a little different, but basically the same goals and the same values are there today just as they have been in the past.
We want to wipe out every ugly form of human poverty, and we want to establish in our countries a guaranteed minimum annual family income for every family. We need to provide a decent job at a decent wage in a full employment, full production economy for every worker able and willing to work.
We have had a lot of nasty strikes in our history, and so anytime we see a picket line, including our children, they'll go walk that picket line, help them folks.
A lot of sacrifice and even deaths have resulted from some of the earliest strikes in this country.
I don't ever remember a time in my life when strikes weren't part of my life. I mean, I remember at a very young age, whenever strikes were taking place to just try to prevent people from getting killed and maimed.
We are unarmed and we are owners of this company.
We had to band together to start getting an education and start working through a union to fight back and come to the bargaining table as equals. And it was only our union that really gave us the glue or the cement that brought all of those grains of sand together into the solidified front.
Hey there, mister, can you tell me what happened to the seeds I've sown? Can you give me a reason, sir, as to why they ain't ever grown? They just blown around from town to town, back out onto these fields, where they fall from my hand, back into the dirt of this hard land.
I don't know what's going to happen, but we don't care. We need a union.
You took the health and welfare, you took the pension, you took the vacation, you took the holiday pay, you took the wages, you took the job classification, you took the seniority. What else is there now?
You're going to take a trick on the way.
You want the kids too?
He wants to be together to take something else.
You want the kids too? I can't have no more. I'm sorry, mine's grown. You can have the grandkids.
Can you film all these guys blocking the sidewalk right here?
You ain't got nothing
Oh, across the line. All three of these guys. This guy's a joker. This guy's okay over here. This guy I'm not sure about.
3, 4, 3, 4 guys.
Are you ready to fight? Damn right!
I'm known as the oldest striker. I worked all my life and I love to work, and I don't want to retire because I figure this is my life, working.
Being a single parent, it wasn't like I could go work another job and do that and be a quality parent, so I just opted to just stick with the strike.
Okay.
People were there because this is a continuous 24-hour day, 7-day operation, and none of us ever let that line go down.
Earlier in the day, culinary leaders met with Frontier representatives for negotiations across the street at the Desert Inn. The negotiations were the first since February of 1990, and they didn't go very well.
The Ilardi's went through 2 different labor lawyers and countless hours of so-called negotiations, but essentially it was a charade. It was so bad that the National Labor Relations Board or one of its administrative law judges even used the term charade.
Right now they've got the help of the teachers. If you saw this motley crew of teachers that's marching here, no wonder there's a literacy problem in the United States. And if you saw the iron workers and steel workers earlier, it's easy to understand why we have to import Korean and Japanese steel.
I don't think many people really understand, outside the employees and the union itself and the LRDs, of course, just how vicious they have been in their campaign. The reason why people went on strike is because they were constantly under the most extreme and vicious pressure from the LRDs. Every move they made that might have shown whether somebody supported the union or not was kept under constant surveillance, and people were attacked whenever they showed any kind of union sympathy.
The National Labor Relations Board has already cited the Frontier for numerous violations of federal labor law, and we are hopeful that the Labor Board will declare this an unfair labor practices strike, meaning that workers cannot be permanently replaced.
Margaret was really sort of an old-time operator, and you know, she believes it's customer service. She was in the gaming industry back when it was, you know, all the old school.
She started at a small, what we call a slot joint downtown. They had closed down the actual tables because they had found out that the blackjack was being dealt without one complete set of high cards, which obviously throws your odds. Nothing happened to her because she said, look, I haven't been in this business. I had nothing to do with gaming. I was in charge of the books. Our argument was that Margaret Ilardi has a gaming license. It's a privileged license. She was committing a massive amount of ULPs. She was committing OSHA violations. She had all sorts of other problems, and yet because we were having a strike, we couldn't bring that up.
She defied the labor laws. She defied the government. She defied everything you can think of and got away with it. And the strike was all about that we weren't going to take what she wanted us to take.
How many years have you been here? How long have you been here? I was born here. I worked in the union 9 years. You're crossing our picket line. Don't you understand it?
What you're fighting for is not a dollar amount. You know, the majority of the passerbys think, oh, you're fighting for an extra penny or an extra dollar, and we weren't fighting for a dollar. We were fighting for our pension and our health and welfare, and for a standard of living in Las Vegas that a lot of people don't realize that the union is responsible for.
Don't go into the Frontier. The Frontier's on strike.
I don't care what's on strike. I'm here gambling.
Some days you just went out there and I would just think to myself, what am I doing here? It's like, here I am, kind of like an island around here with all the strikers, and we're just lost in this vacuum.
It's like when you first strike, the weight of the world has gone off of you. And then after a couple of weeks, this weight of the world comes back on you, and you're frightened. How long is it going to go on? Will everybody stick with me? Will I make it through all of this?
I ask the Lord just give me a little more strength. When I get down like that, a lot of times we have another union stop by the picket line, rally with us a little while, talk with us, and that just gives you the strength to go on another day.
We were in convention in Las Vegas. I can remember it like it was yesterday. I can remember as we marched up that highway and up that street, and those people that were on that picket line carrying their signs, turning around and looking at us and seeing just thousands of people in green shirts chanting and supporting those people on that line.
Ready to fight! Even the masters miss sometimes, baby. So don't be so hard on yourself. Even the best gets beat sometimes, baby. That's just the nature of the game.
We have more than 75 unions represented from every point in the United States, from Anchorage, Alaska, to Hawaii, to Florida, to the East Coast. Thousands have bussed in from LA, Phoenix, Tucson. Well, we expect to show the frontier and the entire city that the American trade union movement is solidly behind the frontier strikers.
In point of fact, most of the other union owners are against what's happening here at the frontier. They side with the strikers and against the management.
Everybody says organized labor is dead. You're proving that organized labor is alive. And then when you're being exploited, you're willing to stand up and fight for it. And that's what you're doing, and I'm proud to be here.
It's about the dignity of workers. And while salaries are negotiable, benefits are negotiable, dignity is non-negotiable.
I didn't realize before I started this how much my being on strike could mean to so many different people, how much it could affect so many different lives.
I think when it really hit me was at the 1993 convention of the AFL-CIO, when the strikers came into the hall. The electricity, the emotion, the encompassing feeling that this was our strike. I've never felt anything like it before in my life.
I need your help. I'd like to raise a little money for the strike fund in Las Vegas.
Local 2, San Francisco, $1,000.
From Local 11, 1,000.
I think we collected somewhere like $5,000.
In South Africa, we say an injury to one is an injury to all.
I think A. Philip Randolph probably said things the best when he said, you get what you can take, and you keep what you're strong enough to hold on to. And working people's struggles have never ended.
That's what makes the frontier strike one of the shining jewels as far as organized labor, how people can work together, how people can stick together, how people can understand.
It was a strike that captured, in my opinion, the heart of the American labor movement.
When it got on further through the strike, we noticed that everybody liked everybody.
The only red light district on wheels. Wanted it all my life.
You know, we had probably strikers from, I believe, 19 different countries. I think we spoke 7 or 8 different languages on the strike line. I mean, I would often remember that everybody would always have an answer to a complaint on the picket line. If someone said it was a cold morning, I remember a striker named Casey, who then would remind strikers that, you know, he spent many years in Siberia in a prison camp, so it really wasn't that cold. And then people would talk about the boredom on the strike line. And I had a group of strikers from Cuba who had been in prison for their political beliefs. I had one striker who was in there for 16 years, one for 10, and one for 8. So when strikers would talk about boredom, they would explain about what it was like to be in a prison.
Had to go bankrupt, almost lost my home. I mean, I'm so far into debt, it's funny. And I'd do it again tomorrow, just on the principle of it.
I don't go to the movies. I don't eat out. I'm going to Burger King is a big deal now. That's the big afternoon out.
But I never lost that faith, and we always said the faith of a mustard seed. You know, a mustard seed is pretty little, so you gotta have just that much faith.
In the summertime when she come home, she just lay down and get cool.
Well, my husband hadn't taken a vacation in 4 years and 9 months. Well, he could have, but he said that with me being on strike that he wouldn't, so that's kind of hard because he gets kind of irritable.
Yeah, she got a little more feisty, yeah. She's a little quieter.
She could go in there and tear it down brick by brick, and then she go the more philosophical approach of, it'll be all right, the Lord's on my side, I'm winning, it's the right thing to do.
But now he wants a new house like Angelica said. So we'll see what happens.
Eso es unión, sentirse estrechos, pegados, unidos, sentir el calor del hermano, porque eso hace fortaleza en nosotros. When we talk about solidarity, we talk about family, we talk about feelings, we talk about we have to be together.
Una huelga cambia a la gente, una huelga cambia a todo ser humano, cambia, y yo no voy a hablar de lo económico, cambia moralmente a la gente, espiritualmente. Y la verdad, a mí me cambió mucho la huelga. Yo siento mi cambio en ese.
I just knew that I was going to last one day longer. I mean, if it was the last thing I was going to do, I was going to put the Ilardi's off the strip for what they had done to their workers.
When your copay gets higher and your boss is a liar, that's Ilardi. When your wages are cut by some corporate slut, that's Ilardi. Our unions are solid, we won't disappear. We've haunted you year after year after year. What's the name? Who's to blame for the shame at Frontier? That's Ilardi.
At one point, all the Nevada congressional delegation, the senators and the representatives, called upon the Ilardis to agree to binding arbitration, which they refused. Then the governor was asked to see what he could do to help resolve this.
I think it went very well.
I didn't think the meeting went well at all.
Why not?
Well, the Frontiers agreed to the governor's fact-finding process, but the Frontiers agreeing under total duress.
Ilardi claims Governor Miller implied he could put the casino's license in jeopardy if fact-finders concluded the hotel is at fault in stalled negotiations.
We can be held subject to discipline. The unions have no discipline action whatsoever. They're not licensed by the state, so this is kind of a one-way street.
It's a charge the governor hotly denies.
Now, Mr. Ilardi has chosen to characterize that as duress, which is his privilege, but I don't think compliance with the laws of the state of Nevada is ordinarily considered to be duress.
The fact finder ended up saying in a report after a long charade of bargaining that he was presiding over, that the fault was with the Ilardis, that the union was not the one that was at fault, it was the Ilardis because they took unreasonable positions. Until that happened, the public really didn't know who was right or wrong.
Well, I wasn't that interested the first couple of years, but I'd say after maybe 3, 4 years, I got kind of intrigued by the fact that we appeared to have 2 immovable objects here. You had the hard-nosed casino operator on the one hand and the determined union and its members on the picket line every day and every week, and I began to wonder, how's this ever going to, come to an end?
Hotel manager. Close. Yeah, I saw you got your sign up there.
The definition of a scam is somebody who crosses a picket line to work.
Graveyard's a whole nother story. It's a totally different shift. You see more drunks than you would ever imagine.
Who am I looking at? You ain't looking at nothing. That's what you ain't looking at. You put that camera. I'm looking at you.
No, you're in trouble. When the girls start taking off the jewelry, you know that something's going to happen.
You support these people who took my health insurance away. Come on, let's go. Let's do it. You go first. Are you crazy?
A long and continuing strike at the Frontier Hotel in Las Vegas has turned violent.
These are surveillance tapes made by the Frontier Hotel, showing what's happened as many as 50 times.
I've been attacked several times out on the picket line. I've been shot with a long-range BB rifle.
The culinary workers who've been striking the Frontier say in most cases they were being harassed.
I've been maced. I still have a chunk of hair missing from the back of my head when we had a group of people that came back time after time to harass us and have death threats.
We don't take baseball bats to people. We tell them what scum they are for crossing the picket line. Then you protest, that's fine. I'll agree it's great. No. You cross the picket line, you take it. If you want to stand around and listen for a little bit, I'll ask people. I ask people first. No. They ignore me, then I don't ask them no more.
We're not ignoring
One time I asked.
That's fine. That's fine that you protest. Don't call anyone name. That's all. Don't call anybody.
No, you were asked not to go in there. Don't go in there.
And I'm walking right
It's just
back in.
simple.
Well, slither in there! Another scumbag going to the front chair.
The real problem is the media really isn't talking about the issues. They've tried to build the corporate, look like it's a corporate thing, and these big bad unions are striking this poor little corporation who makes millions and millions of dollars in profit. So what happens is that people get a different feeling when they see a strike. We're not for strikes. I mean, we feel it hurts the community, we feel it hurts our workers and the company we work for. But the thing is, when they push against the wall, then you got to come out at them.
5 years, I just want you to look in the face of somebody that doesn't give up. I'm one of those. We've worked for this hotel a long time.
Wait, guys. Look at what is going on here. You have 550 people with families, with children, fighting for their health insurance, fighting for it. And you can...
There is a movement afoot in this country of the extreme political right that have an agenda that is out to ruin the American labor movement. We have to be prepared in the political arena to be able to test them and fight them, to enter that struggle, and then eventually win, not for this thing called union, but for working men and women.
Today's the culmination of 2 months of hard work. By the end of the night tonight, when the ballots are counted, we're going to be 90% there to putting a culinary union waitress in the state senate. And that's testimony to your hard work.
Give her a hand. She's
The head of the AFL-CIO in Washington has called Las Vegas the hottest union city in America, and I think in many ways it is. The union movement is definitely thriving here, and I think the Frontier strike has a lot to do with that in terms of showing that the unions can be strong if they stick together.
You never know what somebody's made of until it's sort of put in front of them, and those strikers were made of steel.
How's business today?
Not too good. Not good.
The walls are really closing in on this company. And it's not just the legal stuff, the unfair labor practice charge and charges that are protecting the strike and the fact that they can't get the state courts to do anything to the strike, but it's also because of all the other things that are going on. This strike has so many different components to it. That's one of the things I think is really bothering the LRDs, is every time they turn around, there's a new front that they're losing on.
The food truck. I mean, how do you explain a person worth several $100 million deciding when he drove to work the day after they passed those pickets that he had to feed them because it wasn't right?
From the time we went on strike in '91, he's been feeding us up to this day, and he said he's not going to stop until the strike is over.
We never gave any consideration to how much money we were giving. We just knew that people that had been out on strike that long really needed some financial assistance. And of course, they also needed some help during the holidays.
Over the years, we gave out, I would say, 3 times a year, 10 tons of food.
Because this is not just for us, our contract, just a Frontier strike, but this is everybody's, and I have learned that. And I'm teaching my kids that, you know, believe it or not, it's the whole Las Vegas, you know, this is everybody's strike.
Thank you for passing it on by.
I don't even know why they go in. They know it's on strike. They just think that it won't happen to them, but one day it will happen to them. I was 1 year old when the strike began. When the strike began. Now I'm 6. Now I'm 6. My birthday was yesterday. My birthday was yesterday.
My aunt, she would always call, you know, when they was here, and she would say, y'all gotta pray, y'all gotta pray. I said, well, ain't that we done prayed, we done everything it is, and don't look like this woman gonna ever, you know, give in.
It just seems like we've been out here forever, our whole lifetime. It just seems like a whole lifetime.
Sundays was very, very difficult, you know, because you're dealing with a lot of things. You're dealing with the problems, with the family, with the weather, You have to be strong all the time. It's hard. It's hard to describe.
Ain't no one knows at sunrise how this day
Neil Drake
is good.
Alberto Fernandez, David Stillman, Fern Blanchard. Those are all strikers who have passed away. So let's give a minute of silence.
Hear me singing, can't no one know at sunrise how this day is going to end.
I think when we're put on earth, sometimes I think there's a plan, and God wills us certain things, and I felt that whatever He wills us, whether it's having to be a part of a strike or losing a loved one, it can never be too tough not to make it through it.
One day! One day! One day! One day! One day!
A very interesting thing happened towards the end of 1995. I got a Christmas letter from a person named Wayne Laguerre.
Wayne's World was my private office where all the video editing was done, and also where very confidential tapes were kept. We had video coverage of the entire property, and it was manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by 12 operators.
Joe, this is Heidi. Everything's okay. The cops came and they just stayed there and left and sent the ambulance.
It turned out that he, all this time, had been an ordained minister. His conscience got to him. He told me about all the things that had gone on inside the hotel, all of the dirty tricks they'd pulled. Like John Ilardi had pushed the button to create geysers out on the picket line to get strikers wet, something that, of course, had always been denied. The fact that they bribed a garbage truck driver to bring internal union documents to the hotel.
You should be taken to jail.
When all these things came to light, it got the Gaming Control Board a little more interested in looking at the activities of the Ilardi family. It even went over to the FBI, who started looking into possible allegations of wrongdoing.
Nevada has not yet done what the law requires it to do, and that is to close the frontier permanently.
We think that it's about time that the public officials and the responsible parties would address this situation and enforce the law.
And it was their movement towards taking some action against the license that really precipitated the sale of the hotel.
You know that when it comes to a labor issue, if you read it in the Las Vegas Sun, it's more than likely true.
I never thought I'd see the day, Kathy, but 6 years, 2 months, and 7 days later, finally, what we've been waiting for. The Culinary Union announced just a short time ago that the Frontier strike is finally reaching an end.
According to the Las Vegas Sun, the Frontier Hotel and Casino has been sold. It has apparently been sold to Wichita, Kansas industrialist Phil Ruffin.
No, nobody thought the strike could be settled. If you recall, they were going to have a congressional investigation of why this strike could not be settled. But, you know, that's kind of what I do, and I was able to negotiate my way through this thing.
So every individual got everything they were entitled to. We got pension credits for the strikers for the entire duration of the strike. It's the only time I've ever heard of.
I always think these people are millionaires and they have money. And they wonder how we made it and how we stuck it out. My husband always said, you can't break a poor man, but you can break a rich man.
Que lo logramos, que no fue en vano todo lo que pasamos. Eso es lo que viene a mi mente, porque en la huelga hemos pasado cosas horribles, pero ahora que lo logramos yo veo que pasaron y que no era tan difícil. Yo siento que lo logramos.
What do I want to do in the future? I want to work in the hotel that I fought really hard for. I want to be able to go and buy myself a home, which I will be able to do now that I've gotten my job back. I want to be able to provide my son with extra funds to go to college, and I want him and my nieces and nephews to be able to come into a workplace and say, you know, I'm not going to get paid pennies. I'm not going to get paid minimum wage because my mom, my aunt, my cousin fought so that I didn't have to scrape to get by.
You will have to make your own judgment about whether the price that you paid is worth it. But I will tell you this. You have done a service for the members of our union in this town. You have done a service for every working person in this town. You have done a service to preserve the standard of living not only today, but for your children and your children's children. And in an America where it's tough as hell to win any kind of a strike, you have done a service to every working person in America.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow.
When the strike started, the labor movement looked very different. It was unsure of itself, it was tired, and it had forgotten its priorities. But we changed all that, because there were leaders across this country who looked at the frontier strike in Las Vegas and said, this is what being a labor movement is all about.
Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on.
This is a national struggle, a victory for America. To see us here in solidarity, it's a source of great joy. Tonight is the beginning of a new day, a new attitude.
Swallow your pride.
Because we're marching together, men and women, old and young, teachers, steel workers, carpenters, many unions with one voice, many workers with one goal, and that's justice in Las Vegas, justice in Nevada, and justice in America, and we won't stop marching till we have justice in all three.
You start me crying again. I've been crying all day. I can't even believe it's here. I waited for 6 years for this moment. Yep. It was a struggle, but it was well worth the fight. Yeah.
Lean on me
till I'm gone.